How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back. FPL is back, and we are looking forward to building our first team. I'm curious to see what potentially I could do if I hit the auto just include button. But that would be that's maybe for another time, just to see if I get Ozil or somebody who's probably not going to play. But yeah, should be fun. This could be a potentially a long stream. We're going to be looking at prices of all different players, and yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting one. Once I have my team kind of set up on the screen, we'll create the league as well. Make sure you need to follow us over on Twitter for that, and once you have done that and you enter the league, you will be shouted out at the end of the season, and your name will be in the description of all the videos that go up on YouTube that have FPL as their content for the next season. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff, and yeah, should be a whole lot of fun. Also would like to shout out John Wick 5522, Sheriff 106, and the Gunners 17. Thank you all for following the channel, much appreciated. So without further ado, let's see the teams. So this is the screen here. This is what they take you to right in the beginning. I have it kind of shrunk down and kind of moved around a little bit here. So yeah, we're gonna be taking a look at that. Let me just shift across here. I forgot that I have a different setup now. You can see we got a different background going on. We got the all the information in a different spot. The chat will be above me, and yeah, should be quite interesting. And I'll probably put the league code somewhere above me as well. On this side that you can see me on in the overlay. So let's take a look at some of the players. Jankster man, how's it going? How are you doing? I hope you are well. Hope you're staying safe, and I hope that you're excited that FPL is back. And we're going to be looking at some potentially good buys. Not goodbyes and buy, but good buys. And in our FPL team. The Gunner 17, hello, football fans. Hello as well. Now, let's take a gander at who we're looking at. So let's just get this one out of the way. Let's get this one out of the way. We're gonna put Pope in the team, I think, and we're gonna that's gonna be it, right? We just put Pope in the team and set him for the entire season. He'll get 15 clean sheets. Done. I did predict that Pope, Patricio, and Dean Henderson were going to be 5.5 million, and they are all priced at that price point. So quite interesting there. You also see that Schmeichel is also there as well. And there's some interesting price points there. Leno is still at 5 million, which is quite interesting because of Martinez is at 4.5, so if he's starting, then we could potentially see something different there. But let's just take a. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna go through like kind of all the teams. So let's start off with not Arsenal. Yes, Arsenal. So as we mentioned, Leno and Martinez. Let me just make sure if you guys can see that. Yeah, you should be able to see that. Fantastic. Hey, John Wick, how's it going? Yep, it's going to be interesting. I have Pope in the team to hold it down for the time being. We don't need any other players. It's going to get us all the clean sheets we need. And we'll finish 10th or something. Who knows? But yeah, we're just going to take a look at all the prices here first. So we got the likes of David Luiz at 5.5. Cedric at 5 million could potentially be good. But obviously Arsenal defensively aren't great. Tierney's at 5.5. So they boosted him up a little bit over the rest of them. Saliba at 4.5. That's interesting. Could be starting for Arsenal. Obviously unproven in the Premier League, but could be quite good there. Now the big one. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is now a midfielder, and by the classification, like we mentioned, we said that he was going to be there, and he is, among other players as well. He is 12 million. He's the exact same price as Salah, the exact same price as Sadio Mane. Could be very interesting as well. Also, one thing to note, the deadline is got a half an hour taken off of it as well, which means that the deadlines are going to be 1 hour and a half. It seems, now this could be just a placeholder time, So this is 9:30 my time. I'm 4 hours behind UK, so that would be a if I can just do the math really quickly, that would be a 1:30 deadline in the UK, and usually there's 3 p.m. kickoff. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So they've moved the time earlier by half an hour, which means that it's going to be a lot harder for people to get team news and that sort of stuff. So Pepe, we also discussed him in our midfielder video. We said he would be 8.5. He was 9.5 last season, now 8 million, so he's down 1.5. Could be a great option there. You also notice that they don't have Willian in here, who's just recently signed for Arsenal. I expect him to come in at something similar to Pepe, probably in the 8 million bracket, maybe 7.5. We'll have to see. Lacazette, 8.5 million, very cheap. Nketiah makes sense. He's going to be a 6 million forward. That just makes the most sense to me. But the big one here is Aubameyang as a midfielder. Martinelli is also a midfielder because he played on the wing, and at 5 million, if he comes back and hits the ground running, he could be electric. We've seen how good he is, and him being priced the same as the likes of Willock and Torreira, he comes back from his long-term injury and does well. Him, Saliba, and Aubameyang could be quite good, especially if they have good fixtures going forward. And if Martinez keeps his starting place, which there are rumors that he might, but there's also some that he might not, he could be very good at 4.5 million. So, very interesting to see there. Let's take a look at Aston Villa. Yes, the prices are crazy. It seems like they've kind of seen the situation as well. Like kind of how the season went and kind of how they're reacting to the whole, what's been going on in the world. And they've kind of just dropped the prices a little bit for everyone. Maybe bumped a couple up, but dropped them overall elsewhere, except midfield basically. And just to compensate, because you have, look at all the midfielders that are 10.5 or more. Bruno Fernandes, Kevin De Bruyne, Raheem Sterling, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane. That's 6 right there. And you can't have all of those in your team to start. You can have 2, maybe 3, if you cut elsewhere. In terms of the goalkeeper situation, there's 2 4 million goalkeepers at Aston Villa here, but Heaton will be 4.5. Could prove to be quite good. I'm not sure when he's supposed to be back. It says unknown return date, but I think he's supposed to be back sometime before Christmas. I think. I could be wrong on that, but he could be quite good. Tyrone Mings, 5 million. Probably a bit expensive. Target now 4.5, not the 4 million that we were looking forward to. Grealish is 7 million, so he's going up by 1 million. Could be quite expensive because there's some players around that price point that could be a lot better. He does start game in, game out, so he could be quite good. McGinn at 5.5 could be quite interesting as well. Then we have the likes of Wesley, who is at 6 million. The youngster, Davis, who is playing, he's at 4.5 million, could prove to be quite good as well. Overall, I don't think people are going to be looking at Aston Villa too much, except for maybe Heaton when he does come back, because he could be quite good there. The next team, we have Brighton, of Albion. We have Matt Ryan, who's 4.5 million, could be very good there. Lewis Dunk, 5 million. He's always in the back line. Could be a bit too expensive there. But we could be looking at the likes of Lampty, who is very good and creative in his own right, likes to get forward, and is a very good talent, and is potentially one of the players that we could be adding into our team. And the reason we say that is because since Trent's come in at 7.5, it's basically going to be Trent plus a bunch of cheaper defenders, and you just rotate between the 4 of them based on the fixtures, and that could be a good strategy going into it. And it could be quite interesting. Also, Ben White is also very good as well. 4.5 million, could see a starting position in the Brighton lineup. Into midfield, Trossard is 6 million. I believe he was 6.5 last season. Gross is 6 million as well. Lallana comes in at 6.5. He could prove to be a good player for them this season. Stevens, I believe he plays the majority of the... he plays quite a few minutes as a defensive midfielder for Brighton, as far as I remember. He could be quite good there. Mind you, Basuma was playing a lot of games. He's 4.5, so he could potentially it could be a nice cheap midfielder there. Just somebody that's going to be ticking over, getting 1 to 2 points, and just somebody who can come off your bench at some point. And then Mopai at 6.5 million could be a very good forward for the budget option, that kind of price point. We'll see a lot of these types of forwards being picked because everyone wants to pick the big hitting midfielders. They want you can't just spend 12 million in midfield and not be able to afford them. You have to make sacrifices in certain places in order to make sure that your midfield is bolsterous. And then Connolly at 5.5 million, probably a bit too expensive. I think Mopai is probably gonna. They'll probably both start equally, but if obviously Connolly is doing quite well, you'll take the 1 million cheaper, especially in the beginning of the season. But I think Ryan, 4.5 million, depending on fixtures, could be very good at the start of the season as a rotation. Nick Pope, we put him in our team just because he was right there, and I just decided to throw him in there. But he is at 5.5 million. We also have this another goalkeeper at 4 million, who's a backup. Mind you, they did just sign. I think his name is Will Harris. I expect him to come in and be a 4 million goalkeeper, unless Nick Pope leaves, because there's rumors that he might be going to Chelsea, as they desperately need a starting goalkeeper, and Pope would be very good at that. Tarkowski stays at 5 million. Ben Mee being 0.5 less. So Tarkowski 5.5. Sorry. Ben Mee at 5 million. Charlie Taylor coming in at 4.5 million could be quite valuable there, as he was playing in at right back, I believe it was, instead of Peters when Ben Mee and Tarkowski were fit. So that could be something to look out for there. Long will probably drop to the bench as Mee comes back in. So I think Taylor might be on a lot of people's list as one of the other cheaper defenders, much like Lamptey. McNeil could be in for a shout at 6 million, depending on how Burnley like to set up. I think long term you might see McNeil transition to left back, mainly because he's got a crazy good delivery with his left foot. He basically plays left back when Burnley play anyway, and yeah, because they put in two banks of 4. And that's pretty much how they go with it. So could be quite interesting there. Next up, we have Chris Wood, again, another 6.5 million forward. Could be quite valuable there. Barnes coming in at 0.5 less. Remember, he was out injured, and he was more of the kind of on the floor goal scorer, as it were, for Burnley. He is quite good in the air. But if he's starting alongside Wood, you would probably pick Barnes over Wood, mainly because Barnes is 0.5 less. And I'm not sure if Barnes takes penalties if Wood is on the field. I'm not sure about the Burnley situation. They don't get very many penalties anyway, so would be interesting to see there. Now, moving on to one of the considered Big Six teams, Chelsea coming 4th last season. Both goalkeepers for Chelsea are 5 million. Not that anyone's probably going to stay near them. If they bring in the likes of Oblak or Pope or somebody like that, maybe their price gets changed and then you're looking at something a little bit better. But as long as they have these set of defenders in front of their goalkeeper, they're going to concede, I think. Because Azpilicueta's getting up in age. Alonso can only play as a wing-back with a back 3 behind him. Rudiger has shown very inconsistent. Zuma started to get a little bit of form towards the end of the season. Reece James, still very young. Tomori, still very young. Christensen, just not cutting it as overall. And then Emerson is linked away from the club as well. So not really looking at Chelsea defensively. Maybe Alonso, who's priced at 6 million, could be something if they find a sturdy back 3. Maybe they bring in a real just solid defender, stick him down back with Azpilicueta one side and maybe Zuma or Rudiger the other side with a really solid goalkeeper, and then you have the likes of Alonso and Reece James as your wing backs, and then you go from there. Could be quite interesting. Mason Mount, 7 million. Could be something there. Mind you, his points weren't as good as what we would like them to be. Pulisic coming in 8.5 million. He could be fantastic at that price point. He's 0.5 less than Heung-min Son for Spurs, who's coming at 9. That kind of price bracket is very competitive. You have Pulisic in there. You have Ziyech, who's coming in at 8 million. You have Riyad Mahrez, who I believe is 8.5. You have Mason Greenwood, who's now a midfielder. We'll get onto that. He's 7.5 million. You can even go even lower, 2 million lower. Phil Foden, 6.5 million. So there's a lot of places for that like cheaper-ish midfielder that could be quite good. We mentioned Ziyech coming in at 8 million. I think this is a very good price for him. I think he'll do very well. He can play in a multitude of positions. Can play out wide left, false 9, in the number 10 role. Can play wide right, which I think is where they'll want him to be playing, coming in on his left foot. And sometimes he can play at a midfield 3 if they want to go 2 up top. That's another decision that Frank Lampard also has at his disposal. He can play 3 down the back, with his 2 wing backs, and then he can play a midfield 3. So basically, you have a standard 3 midfielder. So you have kind of a very defensive midfielder. We're talking like a Jorginho or a Conte kind of holding, and then you can have Ziyech, who's going to be more of the creative number 8, and then you can kind of have a workhorse / kind of box to box and Kovacic there, and then they can play 2 up front. So you can play both Werner and Giroud, or Werner and Abraham as your 2 forwards, and get more of the width from the likes of Reece James and Alonso. Moving on to the forwards, we do have Teemo Werner. I believe he was 50 million euros or 50 million pounds, something like that. Coming in at 9.5 million seems pretty much a shoe-in for most teams. However, first time in the Premier League, did leave a Leipzig team that was, quite good with him. They linked up quite well together. Very, system-driven team, and he could be very good for them. Don't even have a picture yet, but they do have the jersey, which is quite nice. Hopefully they release the jersey pictures sooner rather than later, because when I got to post my lineup, I need the pictures for that on the Premier League site. Some teams already have them, like Chelsea obviously have their kits already out, so they're already up on the site. So, but may have to use older pictures, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Crystal Palace, Guaita, 5 million. Kind of expected him to not go anywhere. For the most part, no real changes or looking at different things here. However, there is one little gem that we may need to look at, and this is Nathan Ferguson. This is one of their signings that they've done in the window thus far. A 4 million defender. I believe he can play pretty much anywhere along the back line, but favors right back, and he could potentially be the next Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Aaron Wan-Bissaka was a very good right back for Crystal Palace. Like to, somewhat forward, but mainly for defensive properties. And Nathan Ferguson could be a bit more offensive in that regard. Coming in at 4 million, could be very, very good as well. I'm certainly looking at him, and we'll see how he does. But he may just be in teams straight away because of the fact that he is 4 million, and you get that extra 0.5 million, which at the beginning of the season is very valuable. Then we're moving on to the midfielders and forwards. Zaha in at midfield, 7 million. So you're looking at him as the same price point as the likes of Jack Grealish. Could be a potential buy there, but again, very competitive price point. And then lastly, you're looking at Jordan Ayew at 6 million. Just going to be someone who's going to be ticking over. Again, that similar price point, 6.5 million. In that slot. You still have Milivojevic, or I don't even know how to pronounce that properly. I think I pronounced it right. Could be, he takes penalties, he takes free kicks, but apart from that, he's not going to get too much. And Palace, I don't think are going to do well this season. If anyone's seen my predictions, my super early, probably not accurate predictions for the Premier League, you will know that I predicted Palace in 18th this season, but knowing me, they'll probably end up finishing 10th or something and proving me completely wrong. But again, they were super early, and it's all a bit of fun. Anyone who's a Palace fan, I'm sorry. Hopefully your team does not get relegated. I wish no team could get relegated, but unfortunately that is not possible. Moving on to Everton. We have the super expensive Jordan Pickford that nobody is going to have in their team ever, because I don't think he's very good. Luca Digne coming in at 6 million. Could be quite good. Mason Holgate is now 5 million, which is a bit unfortunate. He was, I believe, 4.5 or 4 when he first came in. he played really well, sustained some injuries, and was very solid overall. If Branthwaite retains his position, which he very well could, 4 million would be quite good as a starting just defender in general. Mind you, Everton's form was a bit up and down, so we'll have to kind of see how that goes. Into midfield, nothing really too exciting here. Gordon is now a midfielder though, at 4.5 million, so that could be quite interesting as a cheaper option, whether he's starting or not. And then the main move was Richarlison is now a forward. He's now 1 million higher than Calvert-Lewin, and I think that could they have put him at 7.5 million? Yes, but then he would have potentially been in everyone's team to start, depending on their fixtures. It's a bit tough because he would have definitely scored less points as a forward than last season. How much less, we don't know, because you have to think of bonus points, you have to think of points for clean sheet, all that sort of stuff. Calvert-Lewin being 7 million, I think, is probably too expensive, but we'll have to see. If Keane starts, getting the nod over Calvert-Lewin, then we could see a potential look at Keane, as he is 6 million and could be quite valuable. Moving on to the next team, we have Fulham. So, they're obviously going to have Roddick in goal, who's going to be 4.5. A bunch of 4.5 defenders. Bruyne was 5 million, the one that basically scored the 2 goals for them that allowed them to go through. In terms in midfield, Kearney 5.5 million. I think we're not going to really look at any of these, but maybe Cabano, who played quite well, could see some type of as an enabler in some teams. He's in the same price point as the likes of Souček, who was very good for West Ham. And then we have Mitrovic at 6 million, could be a good enabler up front. Apart from that, not really looking at it too much unless they bring in some different players. We already mentioned Schmeichel. He's at 5.5 million. He's going to be in the same price bracket as the likes of Dean Henderson, Rui Patricio, and Nick Pope. I think Nick Pope's probably better overall. Pereira maintains his 6 million mark. Soyuncu's boosted up to 5.5, which is similar to where he finished off. Chilwell is actually 0.5 less than Pereira, which is quite interesting. He may go to Chelsea, which could be quite good as a 5.5 if they don't change his price. Wing back, which could be quite interesting. Into midfield, Barnes stays at 7 million. Izzy Paris 6.5. Madison 7 million. Could be options there, but highly unlikely. I think the more interesting option is Iheanacho. If Iheanacho and Vardy start playing alongside each other and playing as a duo rather than just Vardy, in most cases, Iheanacho at 6 million could be very good, and they link well together. It's just, I think that Brendan Rodgers tinkers around with his team just way too much, and it could be just why they didn't finish in the top 4 if he just stuck with his guns and done things the way he should have, in most people's opinion, and kept Iheanacho on, especially in the Bournemouth game. They took Iheanacho off, they had no attacking presence, and then they got 2 goals conceded, 1 off a mistake, and then they got Soyuncu sent off, and then it was curtains from there. Also, Jamie Vardy's 10 million as well. Not really too big of a deal, but he did score the most goals. I think it's still going to be decent value there if he still maintains his goal scoring, kind of prowess. Now Leeds, here comes the interesting one. So we got same prices for the keepers. That's not what we're really interested in. What we're really interested in is the pricing of their defenders. Now Dallas has been somebody who can potentially play as a left wing back, or can also play as a left-sided midfielder. So he could be somebody that's going to be going into a lot of people's teams, as well as I think it's pronounced Ayling is also somebody that everyone's going to be looking at as well. As well as, I think this guy, don't ask me, Ilowski, I don't know how to pronounce his name at all. He's also somebody to potentially watch as well. But I think Dallas could be somebody that is going to be in a lot of people's teams. Moving into midfield, we have Harrison, who's been quite good. He just re-signed for the club, 5.5 million. Could be a very cheap enabler. Again, in that cheaper-ish price bracket, could be quite nice there. Hernandez, the number 10 role for Leeds, and kind of makes things happen. He is also quite good, quite reasonably priced. So he's basically kind of the same price as what Jack Grealish would have came in when he got promoted. So kind of look at him. So if Leeds are doing well, usually Hernandez is involved, and as well as Patrick Bamford, who comes in at 5.5 million. So he's $500,000 cheaper than Mitrovic on a team that finished higher. So he could be somebody that is quite good. He does miss quite a lot of chances though, but overall he does score goals when given the opportunity. At least a few times he will definitely score, and we'll have to see if he can do that in the Premier League with the creativity of Pablo Hernandez. I'm certainly looking at some Leeds players because I think they could do quite well. Moving on to the Premier League champions, as much it pains me to say that as a Manchester United fan, but they fully deserved it, and rightly so. Alisson, 6 million, didn't really expect much change there. Trent Alexander-Arnold is now 1 million higher than Van Dijk at 7.5. Robertson is at 7 million, and Van Dijk is at 6.5. Now, if anyone who had Trent for the majority of the season, Trent was almost 8 million by the end of it. So I'm going to save everyone the trouble. What your team should look like when you go to start is Trent Alexander-Arnold should be in it first. Basically, he's 7.5 million. The kid is absolutely insane. He's on set pieces, and he's just got a crazy good delivery. And I think the way Liverpool play relies so heavily on him and Robertson just creating that width, creating those excellent deliveries into what is just a fantastic front three in the way they work. Sadio Mane coming in off the left. Like, a really good pairing is Trent Alexander-Arnold and Sadio Mane, mainly because Trent can whip the ball into the far post with such pace, with such just precision, and Mane is typically the one in on the back post. And then same with Robertson to the opposite side where Salah typically plays. Mind you, Salah tends to drift a little bit more inward, which sees him taking more shots, but it also means that he goes lower on the BPS chart because he does tend to miss some. Van Dijk and Gomez, 6.5 and 5.5. I think that's quite reasonable. The new kid on the block, I think it's Tsimikas. I think it's how you pronounce it. I think the T is silent. He's just going to be a backup for Robertson. So if Robertson ever were to get injured long term, you would bring him straight in almost certainly, because the likes of James Milner is a midfielder and probably is long term obviously not going to stay there. Another thing, Salah and Mane, like we said, 12 million each, same amount. Salah could be just in everyone's team as he gets more shots, tend to drift in, more centrally and get more attempts. Naby Keita is also another interesting prospect as well, playing a very attacking role when fit. I think he is going to be their creator in there. I think he could be somebody that, alongside the likes of, if Thiago comes in with Jordan Henderson kind of holding this defensive role, Thiago playing more of like a box-to-box / a deep-lying playmaker, I think that midfield three could be scary creative and could be quite good going forward. Also, they have Elliott in there, who's 4.5 million. Just a cheap midfield option that's probably not going to see as much game time. Also, another thing is that Harry Wilson is back at the club now. He was at Bournemouth, I believe it was, and he's at 5.5 million, so potentially look out for him there. And Oxlade-Chamberlain is 6.5 million, which is 1 million higher than Keita, just as a note. But I think Keita long term will be the one of the main midfielders there. And then probably the most overpriced player in FPL, apart from Kepa, who should probably be free, is Roberto Firmino at 9.5 million. We said that he should have seen a price drop to 8.5 million just because of how bad of his last two seasons are. And I think that 9.5 million is just too expensive for him. You're going to be looking at other Liverpool assets. There's going to be times where you're going to have triple Liverpool assets, maybe double defense into Salah or Mane Salah into one defender, and that's kind of what you're looking at. So I think that Firmino is a bit too overpriced. Now, if he starts banging in the goals and he plays like a true number 9 and stops, dropping off deep and linking up play and letting Salah and Mane drift in central, then you'll start to see people pick him up. But I don't think he's going to be a great asset this season. Another team that everyone's got on the radar is Manchester City. Manchester City were knocked out of the Champions League. Spoilers, they were knocked out by Lyon 3-1. Sterling missed the sitter when the game was in the balance. and it could have put the game at 2-2. And then Lyon went down the other end and scored, and they pretty much ended the game. So City, today being the 15th, with the season starting on the 12th, will most likely, now this is not certain, but I think it's like a very high chance that they will start the season in game week 1. It's only the teams that have that get to the, I believe it was the semi-final for the Champions League and the final for Europa League, were the ones that would have to miss it, because they would basically be taking an extra week to play that game, and they would need a week off. So because they basically said you need around a month's rest or something like that. So if I look just at the kind of the time here, the 15th is a Saturday today. And if we look at 4 weeks ahead, the Saturday is the 12th exactly. So basically, any teams playing after that, United will be a slight exception because they literally play the day after. If United were to get knocked out by Sevilla in their game tomorrow in the Europa League semi-final, they would most likely play in the first game week. And I believe City is going to be playing there as well. And United is the only team left. So if United do win against Sevilla, they will have most likely either blank in game week 1 and 2, or just in game week 1. So make sure you check out for that. Also keep a note for City as well, as they still might get a blank. We don't know, but I think it's most likely that they won't get a game week blank. But again, check the fixtures just to be sure. Also, speaking of fixtures, for those that don't know, it looks like the time was boosted by half an hour, so it's a half an hour earlier. I think we mentioned that before, but just as a note, that is subject to change as well. Moving on to City. So Ederson, no surprises there at 6 million. Nathan Ake, their new signing, down back, could be playing alongside Laporte. 5.5 million could be quite good. The likes of Mendy and Laporte and Walker all maintain their price. Cancelo is coming in at 5.5 million. He could be quite good as a very attacking fullback, and still good 1v1 defensively. I can easily see City starting the season with Walker at right back, Cancelo at left back, he can play both sides and has been very good. And then you have the likes of Laporte and Ake as your central defensive midfielders. Also, another note is that Fernandinho is now priced as a defender. Just thought we'd throw that out there. So there are going to be games where Fernandinho gets a double-digit hole, where he gets a screamer from outside the box. City win 5-0. He keeps a clean sheet and gets 3 bonus points. Also, if we are looking at the expensive midfielders, we got Kevin De Bruyne, Raheem Sterling, both 11.5 million. There's going to be times where you're going to want De Bruyne in. There's going to be times when you want Raheem Sterling in. It's all going to be dependent on, home versus away fixtures, and depending on whether or not who you prefer in terms of it depends on how much they go up in price, how much they go down in price, where De Bruyne is playing, because sometimes De Bruyne plays a much more reserve role, and we will have to see. Any info regarding Torres? If you're talking about Fernan Torres, which is this guy right here, he is 7 million. He's 0.5 higher than Phil Foden. I believe he plays on the right-hand side, if I'm correct. I could be wrong. But I think he's capable of playing both sides. But 7 million could be quite good. Again, with City, what we need to remember is that City's assets, if you have them coming in 30 minutes against a tired Fulham team, it's not really the end of the world. So like Riyad Mahrez came in today versus Lyon, 15 minutes on the pitch, comes and makes a key pass into Sterling, who De Bruyne receives the ball from, and then puts it in the back of the net. Obviously wouldn't get any fantasy points, but does impact the team off the bench against a team that could potentially be tiring. And against a team like a lesser team like Fulham or something like that, we can see very big scores there. And that's why I'm kind of interested in Phil Foden. He's at 6.5 million. Could be a very good bargain there. Moving on to the forwards, Jesus 9.5 million, Aguero 10 million, 10.5, sorry, Jesus 9.5, sorry. And Aguero was scheduled to be touch and go for the final against Lyon, with his recovering from his, I think it was knee surgery or something that he had, which means that he'll most likely be back and fit for game week 1. You may see Jesus start the first game and Aguero kind of come off the bench, Pep likes to kind of slowly work in his players, doesn't matter who they are. So I think that could be quite interesting there. But I think a lot of people will be looking more at the City midfielders mainly. So Mahrez, 8.5 million, could be quite good. Every time he plays, he's really good. And he's just been benched a lot of the games where he probably should be playing. And I think that, you know, Mahrez is very good. Sterling will be very good, even though he missed a sitter. That's something we also have to pay attention to. He missed a sitter. He is a very good player. People have criticized him about his finishing, which has improved drastically. We have to admit that. But with the amount of chances that Sterling and Jesus and players like this get, especially from De Bruyne, it's just one of those things where if they put them away, they're scoring way more goals, which is scary to think about from City. So could be quite interesting there. Manchester United, the red side of Manchester. Dean Henderson is 5.5, just for those that note, and he has a Manchester United jersey. There are speculations that United can't keep all 3 keepers at the club, which would make sense because Dean Henderson did quite well for Sheffield United. Sheffield United has bought Ramsdale from Bournemouth, or has accepted a bid for it. I'm not sure if that's officially gone through yet, but it is something to keep note of, that maybe De Gea and Henderson start fighting for spots, and then you could be looking at a situation where you just don't want to go near a United goalkeeper. Wan-Bissaka and Maguire come in at 5.5 million each. Makes sense to me. Shaw at 5 million could be quite good. He's a little bit cheaper, a little bit more attacking, and a lot more effective than Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Brandon Williams at 4.5 million. He was 3.8, I think, at one point. So he's probably going to be a little bit more of a kind of rotation player, with Shaw mainly taking the left back spot when he is fully fit and available. Eric Bailly, if you start seeing consistent starts, could be quite decent at 5 million, although he is a red card or injury waiting to happen. And then we also have a bunch of defenders on here. Chris Smalling, for those that forgot about him, he's technically back at United right now. I expect him to go to Italy before the transfer window is closed, and he could be not be seen in a United shirt anymore, although he is currently with the team. Into the midfielders, Rashford and Greenwood both have been reassigned to midfield. And now, for those that are unfamiliar, the reason Rashford and Greenwood and Aubameyang and players like this have been relocated to the midfield role is because if a team lines up in a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3, and those players line up as the left or right-sided forwards, they are considered midfielders, which is why Greenwood and Rashford have been moved to midfielders. Same for Aubameyang, who is playing mostly out on the left and right hand sides, and that's why they've been reallocated. Same for Martial, who is also now considered a forward because he was lining through the middle in most games. In terms of price points, Rashford 9.5 million makes sense to me, with Martial being 9 million. That's just a discrepancy in forward versus midfielder. Makes sense overall. If you're willing to pay that extra 0.5 for Rashford instead of Martial, you're probably going to be rewarded with an extra clean sheet point and an extra point for if they score. Rashford is still potentially going to be on penalties. Obviously, Fernandes is quite good at them if you've watched United. If Fernandes isn't on the field for whatever reason, we would definitely see Rashford taking them. We're also looking at the likes of potentially Jadon Sancho coming in. There obviously the kind of discussions have broken down over the past week or so, so that could be something to kind of look at. But another player, Paul Pogba, 8 million, could be quite effective from a deep lying role, although it seems like everything goes really through Fernandes and then the front three. And then lastly, Martial at 9 million. I think this is a fair price. If you're going to price Rashford at 9.5, Martial had to be cheaper. Not 8.5 million cheaper, because he does play for Manchester United, who have finished way higher than the likes of Wolves and Southampton, who have priced their forwards at 8.5 from what I remember from seeing the prices. And yeah, could be quite interesting there. And then Teden Mengi is a prospect at United at 4 million. If he starts seeing some game time, could be quite interesting. Moving on, we have Newcastle. Not really much here. Dubravka, 5 million. Not really there, too good. Fernandes got a price increase, so he's not great. Lascelles being 4.5 is probably okay. Shar, I think his name is 5 million. Bit too expensive for me, personally. We're not really looking at Newcastle for clean sheets. At least not at the start of the season. Saint Maximin at 5.5 million could be very good. Quite a cheap, cheap player there who plays very similar to how Salah and Mane play for their team. Same with Aubameyang. Gets in the box, gets shots off, gets very central from coming out wide, and could be quite good there. Joel Linton, not great though. However, Almiron is 0.5 million higher, which is quite interesting that they put Almiron. I guess because he scored more points, just because he was playing more games. But I think St. Maximin, if you're going to pick a Newcastle player, is probably going to be him. Maybe Lascelles, if you're looking at somebody there. Next, we have Sheffield United, who have 2 goalkeepers at 4.5. I expect Ramsdale to probably come in at... Well, that's a bit of a tough one. He could be 4.5 million. He could be 5 million. Probably one of those two, I would think. We also successfully predicted that Stevens would come in at 5.5 million. What did I speak about the Chelsea players? I think that Werner at 9.5 million is very good. Ziyech at 8 million is in a very good price point and could be quite good at the beginning of the season, as he can play pretty much any positions and is very good left-footed player. But I also said that Ziyech is very versatile in that he can play in a midfield 3 because he can play as like the more attacking number 8 in a 3-5-2 and could be quite good. But again, it depends on if Chelsea get Kai Havertz. It depends on if they bring in better defenders, because if they have, if they don't fix the defensive problems, Chelsea's going to go down a goal and then potentially capitulate or have to just go into a straight shootout with teams. But yeah, that's kind of the short of it. I will post it on YouTube, so if you wanted to get the full kind of as I was going down, then you can kind of check that out. And yes, Pulisic is quite good in that price bracket. The only problem is that he's going to be injured for, I think it's the first few games of this season, as far as we know. The Lord Lundstrom, he has fallen. He's now rightfully a midfielder, unfortunately. Getting 144 points in his one fantastic season is now a million more expensive and in a position that we didn't want him in midfield. You did your work, Lord Lundstrom, but you will never be used in FPL probably ever again, unfortunately for you. Then we have Sander Berge, who is 0.5 million cheaper and is probably likely to start more games than Lundstrom. And then you have all of these forwards, maybe McBurney, but I think they need to get a really, really standout forward at Sheffield United, because everything else is pretty much solid. They have a workman-like midfield that's good. Their back line's very solid. They're bringing in a goalkeeper already. They just need somebody who can put the ball in the back of the net for the most part there. Southampton with their pretty cool kit. I really like it. The solid red with the white stripe going across. McCarthy at 4.5 is very solid there. Cheaper defenders, Kyle Walker-Peters is now an official Southampton player, being sent across the other way from Spurs. And yeah, that's a very good deal for them, very good deal for Spurs, and he could be very good going forward and getting some assists for Danny Ings. United City for game week 1 or no chance? So my understanding of it, true, is that the players need around a month of recovery time, in mandatory recovery time by the Premier League, in order to make it fair for the league. Now, a month from now to the day is the 12th, which is when the season is supposed to start. So, by that logic, since City got knocked out tonight, they should be eligible and should be playing in game week 1. That should be fine. If United, which is only a day after being a month, really, if United were to win against Sevilla tomorrow, they will most likely see a blank in game week 1, potentially blank in game week 2. If they were to lose tomorrow, they will most likely also be playing, and then you'll have every team playing in game week 1. That is not set in stone. I'm not sure on that, but we will have to see. What other team was up? If no United. not sure how you worded that question. You mean like which other teams might not play? It would just be a matter of one other team just wouldn't play. We don't know yet. We don't know the fixtures yet. So if United was scheduled to play Aston Villa, then they would see a blank in the first game week, which is just how the cookie crumbles. That's just how it works. But they're the only team, as far as I know right now, that still have a chance to see a blank in game week 1. That's my understanding of it. I would say wait for an official announcement. If United were to beat Sevilla tomorrow, then you're most likely looking at a potential blank in game week 1, which they'll then have to make it up in a double game week. And if they do face someone like, imagine if United's fixtures off the start is Villa like away and Fulham at home or something crazy like that. There's going to be a crazy number of people looking at that for triple captaincy right off the bat. Game week 2, job done. Let's go. You know, could be quite interesting. You could see people wild carding for that game week. It could be insane. But yeah, I would say you have up until the deadline on the 12th of September. But like John Wick says, fixtures are scheduled for 21st. Yes, they are scheduled for 21st. That is the latest that you'll see them. So you should see them sometime before the end of next week. The 21st being next week Friday. So they should be out at some point during next week. They said the 21st was going to be the latest. So just keep an eye out for that. But yeah, our team might get changed up. It could be Liverpool that gets the blank because maybe United and Liverpool are supposed to play in the first game week of the season. They'll probably avoid that, but Chelsea and United did play game week 1 last season, so who knows? We'll have to see. But getting back to the Southampton team, Walker Peters I think could be a very good $4.5 million defender. Into midfield, not really much going on there. However, Danny Ings, $8.5 million. Saw the price increase and could be quite strong as a pick. Che Adams also showed that he was quite good at the end of the season, and $6 million could be a very interesting price for him as well. And yes, that would ruin a lot of fantasy teams, or at least a lot of people that are, templating things up. So if you have, you're like, yeah, I'm going to bring in Fernandes, I'm going to have Martial up front, I'm going to have Rashford as another midfielder, or Greenwood, I'm going to have Trent down back, I'm going to have Salah, I'm going to have Alisson in goal. Oh, they both have a blank. Damn, and then it's over. It all depends. It all depends. Maybe they might extend the game week so that United plays. So if all the teams, let's say, play Saturday, Sunday, so they would play like the 12th and the 13th. They might play like midweek Wednesday, but it's still considered game week 1, and then United play on the weekend in game week 2. We don't know. Again, it could be quite different. Trenton Rashford, I think a lot of people will be going on that bandwagon because Rashford, if he was a midfielder like Martial was in the game post lockdown, he would have scored more points than Martial, which is that's just how it was. Staying away from Ings. Yeah, I mean, he could be a one-season wonder, yeah. Could be a one-season wonder. But I think if he stays fit, he's definitely going to score. Will he score, 23 or 22 goals? How many he scored in the season? Probably not. But I think he'll definitely see more assists this season, which he saw quite little of because the likes of, his other teammates weren't putting the ball in the back of the net when he was giving them the key passes. Because he does create quite a lot of chances for his teammates as well. So could be quite interesting. Again, fixtures are everything in the first few game weeks, and we'll have to see if United does have that blank. Yeah, Adams at $6 million. Again, that price bracket could be something to whereas Ings is 8.5, but if Adams is playing up alongside them and getting the same service from Redmond and Walker Peters and these types of players, could be a great bargain, especially at the beginning of the season. Hugo Lloris, $5.5 million. Probably not going to be looking at him, most likely. But again, he's just in that same 5.5 bracket. Aurier saw a price increase to $5.5 million. Kind of expected it. We also see that Eric Dyer is now a defender as well, 5 million. Tanganga also sees a price increase to 5 million. I think Aurier could be a good fullback for Spurs. He showed immense form at the latter half of the restart and could be insane. And Lloris, the thing is with Spurs as well is that Lloris is kind of taken up the captaincy role a bit more with gusto, a bit more with kind of force. He's kind of that. He's being more of what a captain should be. You saw him yelling at Son for not tracking back, even though I think it was a bit harsh personally. In that one instance where they almost conceded, I can't remember who it was against, but Lloris is prone to a mistake, and you would think that Burnley would be better defensively than Spurs, but Spurs, it's Mourinho's first full season with Spurs. He tends to do quite well with teams when he has his first full season, and he's got his workman-like midfielder as well, which we'll move on to in Pierre Emel Hoiberg, who's in there at 5 million. He's going to be kind of the energetic rock in midfield. Maybe if they play him alongside the likes of Ndombele, you're then looking at Lo Celso playing in the 10 role, and then you could get some pretty creative kind of action going there. In terms of the midfield prices, not really too much is kind of looking good. Bergwijn 7.5 million, probably a bit too expensive for me, for somebody who's rotation risk and not in a very offensive side, or a very offensive side as in like they attack a lot. I mean, sometimes you could say Mourinho's style of football is very offensive because they play so negative that you just don't want to watch it. It hurts your eyes. And it offends football just as a whole. But that's a different topic altogether. Lucas Moura, 7 million, could be quite good as well. We did, however, see Mourinho slowly rotate each individual player. So one game Son would sit out, one game Ali would sit out, one game Moura would sit out, one game Lamela would sit out, one game, Bergwijn would sit out, and he would kind of rotate around them. So he does have, some options there. Son being 0.5 million less is quite good. And Kane also comes in at the same price as Sergio Aguero. We know that when Kane likes to play CDM, he's not very good, turns out. But when he does play striker, and he's in on the last defender's shoulder, he's very good. So we kind of want to take a look at that going into the first couple of game weeks. And we know, when Kane is able, he's a very good FPL asset. However, one thing to also note is that Kane typically struggles in August. Well, unfortunately for the Premier League fixtures, Kane is not going to be playing in August because it starts in September. So he could be firing right off the bat, which could be quite interesting. Yeah. Could be definitely funny to see Kane scoring in the first game. I mean, he scored, I think, in the amount of seasons that he started for Spurs, which is quite a few now. I don't know how old he is exactly, but there was only one season where he scored once in August. It was something crazy like that. West Brom, me personally, I don't see anyone from West Brom that I like at all. Yeah, it was last season. Yeah, that makes sense. But I don't see anyone from West Brom that kind of excites me personally. Maybe Higazi, that's just kind of a nostalgia pick potentially. Was good defensively. Not really too sure of anyone that could be quite could be good. Pereira, True is saying could be good. Is he? I guess he's somebody who hasn't been added to the team yet. That could be coming in here. I'm not sure. I haven't watched West Brom at all. I've only seen very few bits from Fulham, and same with Leeds. But Higazi was good. He was good. He should be a West Brom player. Okay. Maybe they have him as a different. Maybe he hasn't been added yet or something like that. We will have to see. But I'll keep an eye out for that. 16 assists last season. That's pretty crazy, to be fair. But yeah, I don't see anyone as I mean, I recognize him. That's Charlie Austin. He used to play for Southampton, so maybe he could be quite good. 5.5 million, maybe. We'll see. But West Brom, every time I see West Brom, it's just kind of it just reminds me of just Burnley light, and it's just not really exciting. It's kind of bleh. It's really mundane. It's really just dullard, very boring. So we will have to see. Gibbs was a decent player from what I remember, so he could be somebody that's quite good there. But everyone else, as far as I know, don't know how to pronounce his name. So, Ajayi, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he has a very long name with a lot of vowels and a lot of syllables, and I'm very bad at pronouncing normal words, let alone names. So, moving on, West Ham. West Ham have 4 goalkeepers, apparently. Fabianski is 5 million, so they boosted him back up. He was 4.5 last season, so unfortunately Fabianski's going to see a bit of a price increase. Not the end of the world for him, though. Not really much going on in defense. Into midfield, Lanzini at 6.5 million could be interesting there. Souček is the main one. 5 million, was getting into the box quite a lot. Is in that price bracket of the anywhere from 6.5 million to 5 to 5.5 million. That kind of much cheaper midfielder, and could be very valuable, and is just really, really good at getting forward and getting involved. You have Declan Rice and Mark Noble kind of screening the back line, with Souček just getting forward, and he's just very good at that. Antonio is another one. 6.5 million has been moved to forward, but he's way cheaper than what he was. I think he could be very good as well. And like John Wick says there, a 5th midfielder in a 3-5-2 could be excellent. I think he's going to be quite good for himself. Another one that may go under the radar as well, but he doesn't see much starts, is Yarmolenko. He's very good at coming in off the right, but it depends on how West Ham set up. We don't know. They could set up in a 2-man, 2 forwards, and Antonio and Haller. Haller was injured for the majority of last season. Could be something interesting there. And then moving on to the final team, we have Patricio, who we predicted at 5.5 million, much like he was set out in here. We also have Doherty, who maintained his price at 6 million. One main thing as well is Willy Bolly is back fit, but he's also 5.5 million. And like True says, Ruben Vinagre is a 4.5 million defender that will be playing as the left wing back over Johnny, who is out with a crucial ligament injury, his ACL, who's going to be out for several months. We might not see him until the new year, which is fantastic for us because we can just put him straight into our teams, which I think I'm going to do that right now because it just makes sense. He's going to be attacking, he's got a decent delivery on him, and he's in a Wolves team where he's the cheapest defender who keep a lot of clean sheets, so it just doesn't make sense not to have him. Into the midfield, the only real midfielder that I can see being worth it is Traore. Jota, 6.5 million, not great. Neves and these sorts of players will be quite defensive. Neto and Podence at 5.5 could be interesting, but I think Traore should eventually nail down his position as right wing. He's just their dynamic player. He is more explosive when he comes off the bench, I would say, but I think he's just too good not to start for Wolves. And then Raul Jimenez in at 8.5 million, just like how Danny Ings is priced at the same mark. We could see him returning to a lot of FPL teams depending on the starting fixtures. Now, it's been an hour and 5 minutes or thereabouts. We had about 10 minutes. We're just on the hour mark in terms of being live, going over all the prices of the teams. So I'm gonna go through my team and kind of discuss the picks and make it quite quick, hopefully, because I've done some thought on this previously when looking at the prices and that sort of stuff when they were doing the reveals, and I kind of have a general idea. I just have to see how the money works out. So first of all, Nick Pope, no brainer, putting him straight into my team. Just doesn't make sense not to play him, and I'm gonna put in just a 4 million non-playing goalkeeper because we're gonna play Nick Pope for basically every game, assuming he has good fixtures to start as well. Potentially rotate him later or wildcard him out if the fixtures are bad. But I think that Pope could be seen as a very good just set and forget goalkeeper. He's going to be better than Schmeichel. He's going to be better than Patricio, and he's going to be better than Dean Henderson because he's going to probably see more clean sheets, and he's going to be, getting more bonus points. Nyland from Aston Villa for $4 million. Yeah, but I think once Heaton comes back in, he'll nail down that spot. I'm not sure how far away Heaton is, but we'll have to see. Pope could get injured after the deadline as well. So yeah, we'll just go with that. We'll go with Nyland. Because again, Aston Villa, Fulham, West Brom, you're not going to have 3 of these players, most likely. So we'll just put him in there just because, like you said, he can play. And Pepe Reina has left the club. So far, with Heaton injured, you would think that Nyland would play over this Jed Steer guy. Into defense. So we have a bunch of different options here. But we're going to be looking at closely the 4.5 million mark. And I think the first one that kind of caught my eye was Tarik Lampty from Brighton. Mainly because he's very good attacking-wise going forward. And we could see him, flourish in their system. And he's just a very cheap fullback. And Ben White is also somebody that could be quite good there as well. I'm just going to add him in for now because he may just be, he's just a placeholder there. But they could be very good if they do start. Saliba's another one. We'll just put him in there as well. Just because he could be traded out. We'll have to see. But we will check out the rest of the players. I'm just going to kind of go down the teams here, really. So Burnley, we could be looking at Long here. If I had to pick, not Long, Taylor. If I had to pick between Lamptey, White, and Saliba, well, I haven't seen Saliba play. And I think that Taylor's probably going to see more clean sheets than Arsenal. So I'm just going to put in Taylor over Saliba for the time being. I think he could be quite good. And I'm going to put in Chris Wood as well. Moving down to the next team is Chelsea. Who could I potentially put in here? Well, since Pulisic is injured, we won't put him in there. We'll put in Ziyech, because he's could be quite good. And then Teemo Werner is our expensive forward. Could be there. Next, we are moving on to Crystal Palace. As we mentioned, the legendary Ferguson. I like Lamptey, what he did in the closing games of last season. So we'll just slam him in there at 4 million. Just makes the most sense to me. I don't see anyone else potentially for Palace. I'll put in Ayew because he could be a cheap forward. We'll just keep him in there as a placeholder and kind of gauge from there. Everton. Am I looking at Richarlison? Probably not. It just doesn't really suit my playstyle personally. Now Mitrovic, would I play Mitrovic over Jordan Ayew? I definitely would. When Mitrovic plays, he shoots a lot. And when Mitrovic shoots a lot, if you remember him from a few seasons ago, in the first 12 game weeks in the season, when I think it was 2017, 2018, if I'm correct, when Fulham were last up, he was like Pookie, but except it lasted for a lot longer. The only problem with Mitrovic is that he does tend to get himself in the referee's bad books. As it were, so we'll just keep him in there for now. Midfield, I'm gonna put Cabano in there just because he's that price bracket. He is 5 million and looked very good. You can also look at Seri as well. Knockhart 5.5, probably not great there. He's very unproductive in my opinion, especially when he played for Brighton. Leicester. Don't really think I'm looking at anyone from Leicester. Maybe Iheanacho if he plays. Like would I play Iheanacho over Chris Wood? I mean I would. Madison at 7 million. Would I play Madison over the likes of Ziyech because he's going to be that price bracket. Because these three midfielders are probably going to be more expensive ones. Iheanacho I would only put in there just because of he is 6 million, and I would definitely play him over Chris Wood if he starts. But again, if he doesn't start, then we're looking at other alternatives there. Moving on to Leeds United. Now this is where things get a bit interesting. Would I play Dallas over the likes of Vinagre? No, because Wolves is, Premier League proven. Would I play the likes of Dallas over Lamptey? Probably, because this could be potentially a good thing. A good thing for Wolves, and Stuart Dallas does tend to play very high up the field. Ayling, I think he play on the opposite side of Dallas. I think he plays on the right hand side with the likes of Harrison, who plays on the right side of central midfield. I could be wrong in saying that, but I've seen a lot of talk about him and Dallas. But yeah, basically that's going to be a Leeds defender almost certainly. I think they're just they just seem too good not to have, basically. Into midfield again, Hernandez or Klitsch would be in the Cabano type of role. Am I willing to spend that type of money on them? Probably not. Now here's another one. Would I play Patrick Bamford over the likes of Mitrovic for 0.5 less? Or would I play Patrick Bamford over the likes of Iheanacho for 0.5 less? And personally, I think I would play him over the likes of Mitrovic. Yes, everything does go through Mitrovic, but I think Bamford has shown that he's a decent enough goal scorer, and at 0.5 million less, he could be very, very valuable for his team. And again, we're all about value here. We're all about trying to get the best possible, starting 11 overall. But again, that can definitely change. Now, Liverpool. We've already got Trent Alexander-Arnold in there. I think it's pretty safe to say that Salah or some type of 12 million midfielder, there's going to be two of them that are going to be going in there. I'm just going to put Mane in there just for now, because those two spots are going to be the big money players for that role. One is definitely a must. I'm going to put him in there because it's just that price point that I'm looking at here. Moving on to who's next? Manchester City. Now, would I play the likes of Sterling or De Bruyne over the likes of Sadio Mane? I definitely would. So I'm definitely going to put in KDB in over Mane. And then we also have 8 million left, and I think that Foden could be immense in this price bracket here. And that would be our team if we were to not be looking at other players. But we're going to keep window shopping because that's what we like to do. And then we're going to make our final purchase when we get to put in our team. If I were to look for Mahrez, I'd be 0.5 short, so I'd have to look somewhere else. I'd have to downgrade somebody somewhere. I would have to put a different price. Or I would go Mahrez over De Bruyne and then look for something else. But we're going to put in Foden here. Remember, you can't have everybody. You can't have Aubameyang, Salah, De Bruyne, Foden, Mason Greenwood, Rashford, Sterling, Mahrez. You can't have all these players. You only have 5 midfield slots. It is something that could be quite a problem. We could upgrade Ziyech to the likes of Mahrez as well. That is another option. But I think I like the looks of Ziyech. Would I play Ziyech over Mahrez? Knowing that Ziyech, if Chelsea have just as good of fixtures as City to start the season, would I take Ziyech for 0.5 million less than Mahrez? I think I would, because Mahrez has been shown to come off the bench instead. Yes, he could be more explosive, but Ziyech could be somebody that the people are maybe staying away from because he's an unknown quantity. And like we already, like Jones said, my first pick is Werner. We could also downgrade Bamford to Davis as well. That is another option. Well, we'll kind of see. We're just looking at players where we would like to have them over other ones. In terms of United, we ain't looking at the goalkeepers. We ain't looking at defenders. Maybe we look at Luke Shaw. Maybe. But if you look at the value we get here, Ferguson starting, Taylor's going to start, Dallas starts, Vinagre starts, just doesn't make sense. Unless Shaw's getting just, straight Alonso, just playing as a second striker type nonsense, then we can kind of reconsider. He is coming back off an injury, so we'll have to kind of see about that. Into midfield, Rashford does seem to be quite a good pick. He could be, our upgrade. Would I play Rashford over Ziyech? I think I would, because I think Rashford has to kick on. I think he has to do even better than before, and we could also even make the swap. Whereas we can take out Rashford, we can put in Fernandes as our midfielder, and then we can drop Foden down to I'm just gonna pick any 5.5 midfielder here. I'm just gonna put in Fred just for hypothetical sake, but this could be any midfielder that's 5.5 million or less. So that could be, something that we go for. And in terms of the forwards, Martial, will we play Martial over Werner? I've seen Werner be super explosive. Don't think Martial maybe makes it in. If we do have to sacrifice somebody, it's probably going to be downgrading maybe De Bruyne to a cheaper City mid, like Mahrez, as we mentioned. And then we can upgrade Iheanacho, because that would be exactly 3 million. We could take this 3 million off De Bruyne, put in an 8.5 million midfielder there, upgrade Iheanacho to Martial, play 3-4-3, happy days. So we'll just kind of hang on to that for the time being. Newcastle. Now, obviously, 5.5 million midfield slot. Saint Maximin could be very good here. And I think he's proven that when he's fit, he's very good. They have really good fixtures off the start. Could prove to be quite good. So we'll just leave him in there for now. Sheffield United. I think their defenders are slightly too expensive. We don't know Ramsdale's coming in. Aren't looking at midfielders and aren't looking at attackers, honestly. So don't think we can afford their type of defenders for the time being. They're just a bit more expensive than what we would like, so we're kind of pass on them. Southampton, we have Walker Peters. Now, would I like Walker Peters over the likes of Taylor? Is Taylor more attacking than Walker Peters? Probably not. But is Walker Peters going to see more clean sheets? Probably not. So it's a trade-off there. Do you want Walker Peters more for the attacking side of things? Or do you want Taylor for more of the clean sheet type of things? Could be a bit interesting. I like the looks of Walker Peters. I think he definitely could start. I'm going to throw him in there just for a bit of fun for now. And obviously this team isn't final. It's, you can change it and Medi, you do a whole bunch of things with it as well. Yeah, double Burnley defense. John Wick makes a good point there. Double Burnley defense might be a bit too much. So Walker Peters might make a little bit more sense. So we're gonna go with him just for now. In terms of the forwards, Che Adams could be very good as well. If we start to see him start, do I start Che Adams over the likes of Iheanacho? If he holds down his starting position, I think he could be very interesting. Because, we've seen that Leicester, had some injury problems. Team started to fall down. Mentality could be quite bad. I think he could be quite useful here. So I'm going to put him in just kind of as a temporary spot there. Moving on to Spurs. Not really interested in their goalkeeper. Not really interested in their backline. This is just slightly too expensive. Midfield, is there an argument to make for Son? Possibly. But I think that Spurs don't score very many goals, which doesn't help. Unless they're playing a 4-4-2 with Son alongside Kane, then I'm interested. But overall, not really interested in Spurs at the moment. We'll have to see what signings they get in. West Brom, like I said, Higazi could be someone that we bring in, but it's just something that could be just something we pass up on. Spurs also have Europa League qualification as well, which is another thing that they have to deal with. So it could be a bunch of things that they have to do, which will cause a bit of problems there. I'm not sure when that starts, but yes, it is potentially a very hectic schedule for them. West Ham, we did mention Souček. Where is he to? There he is. I think he's definitely going to be in over the likes of Cabano. For sure. Will he be in over St. Maximin? Probably not, I think. Mainly because St. Maximin is a little bit more attacking and is kind of the focal point of Newcastle. Yes, are Newcastle bad? Probably. And I think they'll probably just scrape above relegation this season. But I think it could be quite interesting to have. Now, here's another key thing. Is Antonio better than Che Adams for 0.5 million more? I think that answer could be yes. So I'm going to take Che Adams out here. I'm going to put in Antonio, and then we'll fix the 0.5 million somewhere along the line. And then Wolves, as we mentioned, Vinagre was the one that we wanted. Midfield, Traore, maybe, but not really looking, all that good. Jimenez, 8.5. Could be a, a bit whatever there. He could be on pens if Noble's not on. Yep, that's another thing. Antonio could be on pens. Pope to Fabianski or Patricio. Well, Patricio's same price as Pope now. Patricio is the same price as Pope, so that wouldn't free up any money. Fabianski is 5 million though, so we can potentially go to him. I'm looking mainly at the St. Maximin spot. Fernandez is also somebody we can downgrade to Rashford. That would get us 1 million. We can look in that regard there. So. Like the players that we're potentially just kind of looking at overall, who are the ones that we're looking at? Is De Bruyne going to be good value at 11.5 million? He should be, I would think. He did score a crazy amount of points last season, 251, which is an absolute absurd amount of points, and I think City could definitely replicate that with a bit more defensive solidity. If Ake comes in and hits the ground running, they could be very good defensively with Cancelo on one side and Walker on the other side. If Sterling, if you guys go on YouTube, I believe there's a compilation of specifically, what's it called? De Bruyne, chances, big chances that he creates for Sterling, Jesus, and all these sorts of players. Of that they've just missed. It's insane. The amount of goals more that they could have is just ridiculous. I still haven't watched it personally. Friend mentioned it earlier today when we were watching the game. And it's just crazy. I like Pope to McCarthy, Walker Peters to Taylor, and upgrade St. Maximin to Foden. That is a good shout. Yeah, Sterling could score if he didn't bottle the chances. But again, City creates so many that was the argument for Jesus last season. You have a Man City striker who gets a bucket load of chances, but he plays for Man City, so it doesn't matter. One day he's gonna score 5. One day he might score 1. One day he might assist 3. They get so many chances, they create so many chances that it doesn't really matter. As long as you have at least one of them, they're probably going to do well. And with the rotation, comes the risk. But again, are we going to take, that risk on board? Of course, it's Man City. They could score 10 versus anyone. And it's just kind of, something that could be, quite interesting. But Aguero and Jesus, they could be options. Again, I think long-term Jesus is the answer. I think Aguero, he's getting up in age. Could see it, a downturn in form potentially. But it seems like every time Aguero gets injured or Jesus sees a large mainstay in the team, he comes back in and he's even better. which makes no sense because he's getting older, and it just logically just doesn't make sense. Yeah, could be quite interesting. I think another option here as well is we could take out the 2 goalkeepers, because this saves us 0.5, and we can go with the likes of Sandegg, Vardy, Kane. It has auto save things from Final Fantasy 14. That's jokes. Not sure why, but that's fine. How do I spell McCarthy? Unless it just doesn't. Oh, it's because I'm on Wolves. That's why. All players. McCarthy. We could go for McCarthy, and Ryan could be 2 goalkeepers that you potentially go for. That will free up 0.5 there, and then we can go for the likes of Taylor as our defender. Again, we can get rid of Fernandez. We can go for Rashford, and then we can take that 1 million extra, and we can upgrade the likes to Phil Foden. If we wanted to do a set and forget with McCarthy or Ryan, you're right. We can go to Nyland, who are 3.5 more. If we think that we're just going to have McCarthy for the first 4 game weeks, let's say, then we could just have him in, few good fixtures, bam, done, and then off he goes to a different goalkeeper later on in the season when we wildcard him out. Another thing that we could potentially look at here is we could spread the midfield out a little bit more. So if we think that De Bruyne is not for us, potentially, we can go with some potentially some different midfielders. Let's just take these 3 out as an example. We keep Souček in there. Aubameyang is another one. That I think could be very good. Which I forgot completely about. He could be quite good in there as well. I think Ziyech's price is very good at 8 million. And then this also makes us allowed to get Greenwood in at 7.5 million, who could be our United attacker, which could be quite interesting as well. And in game week 1, what we would do is we would play 3-4-3. We would bench Greenwood because he wouldn't play, and we would just play Ziyech, Salah, Souček, Aubameyang as our 4 midfielders, with 3 up top with Antonio, Werner, Bamford. Because in a normal scenario, you'd probably play Bamford and Antonio over the likes of Souček, but you wouldn't play them over Greenwood if he's starting. Laka's leaving. It's rumors that he's going to Atletico Madrid, so could be something there. So we might see Aubameyang going back to playing down the middle when he's a midfielder, which is crazy because that's exactly what he got moved for. And Aubameyang would be ridiculous because if he scores another 20-something goals as a midfielder, like how many points did he get last season? He got 205 points last season. So if he gets the same amount of points as he did last season, he'll end up with 230 instead. Which is insane. So that could potentially be something there. But yeah, it could be very very interesting. Like we said, if we didn't like Ziyech, and we just went for, we can go like Mahrez, then downgrade Greenwood to the likes of Foden again. There's various different ways you can do it. If we wanted to upgrade Bamford to Mitrovic, we have the option to do that with this setup here. But I think that the most likely, I think the setup, like you can also go back to the, you can also like True is saying, downgrade Ryan or McCarthy, whichever one you might just have for the first 4 game weeks, and then you can upgrade Foden back up to Greenwood. But again, this all stems on the fact that if Greenwood's going to start, at the current state, he is. But if Sancho does come in, it could be a bit of a different story. So I'm going to go under the assumption that everything is as is. however it's going to be. No, let's just pretend, I'm going to pretend like the transfer window is completely closed. Yes, if Sancho does come in, he's going to be slammed straight into the team. He's wherever Bruno Fernandes is or whoever, that's where Sancho is going to be. Sancho could cost 15 million. I'm putting him straight in my team as a United fan, as an admirer of him. It could be insane. Coutinho is another one rumored to go to Arsenal. That could be crazy with the amount of time. Like, think about this. Imagine if Lewandowski or Aubameyang was in Man City's team. Think about the amount of chances that they create. They would have like 40 goals a season. It would be almost unfair. Like, the Golden Boot would be like, and this year, being 60 goals ahead of everyone else, is Aubameyang/Lewandowski for the Golden Boot. It's like, City creates so many chances, they just need somebody to put them away. And unfortunately, Sterling is kind of lacking, even though it has improved, as we've mentioned. Doesn't help that he missed one tonight, but, you know, nonetheless. Peter Crouch. Yeah, get him on the end of it. Okay, so how am I going to do this? Okay, so I think I'm going to finalize the team. I think I'm going to do it as if I was, you know, going into the season with just knowing what I know now. So I would definitely have in Greenwood. I would definitely have in Salah. Souček looks good. Aubameyang looks good. Is Salah good though? Not too sure about that one actually. It's a bit of an interesting one. I like the back line. I think the back line looks nice. I think the back line looks nice. KDB is an option. I always have this like kind of this soft spot for Sterling though, because I know that he could just get a ridiculous number of goals because he picks up a number of just like good positions just overall. Who had a hat-trick game week 1 last year? Was it Sterling? Or was it Salah? I mean, both of them are capable of hat-tricks, to be fair. But yeah, Liverpool, they kind of had the season a bit bad, but again, it's one of those things where they have, you know, they were kind of pretty much on the beach, as it were. You know, so it could be just one of those situations there. Again, we don't have to necessarily have Teemo Werner up front. That's another thing. Let's say we get rid of Werner and we put in Mitrovic. Now we got a boatload of money. We can upgrade Souček to Ziyech. We can upgrade Mahrez to De Bruyne. We can do a bunch of different things here. Insane. We can also have Martial up front as well. He's in, you know, form. Werner could be the best price striker at 9.5 million. Just gets insane amount of goals. But again, coming into the league for the first time. And another thing is, we don't have to necessarily play, you know, 3-5-2. You know, that's another thing. But I will agree. I like Werner. But again, this could just be Martial as well. Like, if United were to lose tomorrow, Martial could be banged straight in there. And we don't start with any Chelsea players. But again, I like the prospect of a Chelsea player. Yeah. You gotta support the team. Now, unfortunately, you have to have your emotions aside from your team, which is why I tend to stray away from Manchester United specifically, unless they're firing on all cylinders like they were with Fernandes coming in. That's obviously a bit of a different story. But I like Werner in here. I think he's going to be in a few people's teams. And for those that are skeptical of him, they just need to go watch what he did at RB Leipzig. And Chelsea like to attack. So Werner is going to be scoring a lot, I think. And could also be on penalties, which is another thing that we have to pay attention to. And I think we could potentially look at the likes of Ziyech as well in here. I think that we could potentially look in a different location for other assets. I'm just not sure. Like Salah's a bit weird. I don't like when I look at Salah in the team. I'm like, yes, he's good, but are there better players? Again, the dude scored how many points did he score last year? 230. Okay, well, never mind. He scored 1 billion points. Ladies and gents, Salah is he's quite good apparently. From these numbers, he's on a downward trend. But and if we look at this young man, he's it turns out he's very good too. He turns out he's very good. Yeah, and if Thiago comes in, then you're just looking at just like Salah just getting ridiculous amount of chances. So it could be a bit nuts. I'm just trying to think here. Can we potentially change some things? If I were to downgrade Greenwood to a 5 million, it still only gets me a 10. It gets me a 10.5. So if I went for another 10, and so if I went, I can go Fernandez, and then I can also go a cheaper midfielder. I don't have any City in the. Oh, this is too hard. This is too many players. Oh, I need the fixtures. I need the fixtures to pick these players. Unfortunately, we need the fixtures. I need to see who has bad fixtures off the start, because that'll allow me to make up my mind. Where's midfielders? Midfielders, 5 million. Who we got in here? It doesn't look good. Doesn't look good at all. Souček's the only real good one in there. And Cabana could be another one. That's potentially good. To be fair. Yeah, Pereira as well could be another one. Well, I don't know what price is going to be at. But we'll see what they're priced at. I like Fernandez because obviously he's on pens as well. If he's 6 million, we could probably swing it because we can go Ryan maybe down somewhere. Again, the goalkeeper is like, don't really overthink the goalkeeper. It's like if you pay 0.5 extra to have Pope and a blank goalkeeper. It's not like it doesn't really matter too much. I think I'm gonna go with this team just to enter the squad. Again, you can change your team all the way up until the deadline. You can constantly change your team. Yeah, and Nine might not. Well, the thing is, they might sign another goalkeeper. Yeah, if I go these two, what's the names? Walker Peters, Taylor, could be good for the Burnley clean sheet. I don't know, I just like the color of the jersey. Maybe it's just the color of the jersey. I like the white stripe. But again, this isn't set in stone. I'm just gonna enter this in. Oh, I got to put my team name in. So my team name is gonna be Lord of the Flames. my club is Man United, and enter squad. So yeah, we can go into transfers, and you can change as many players as you want, as you see fit. So if I go Dubravka and a 4 million goalkeeper, and I hit make transfers, it's going to be for 0 points, as we know. So this isn't the team that's exactly set in stone. Let me actually maximize this to make it a little bit better for you guys to see. As you can see, we don't have the fixtures set ready. We definitely do not want McCarthy as our captain. But what we would want is we would want Ferguson on the bench. We would want Walker Peters on the bench instead of Bamford. Cabana would probably be ahead of him, and he would be ahead of him. Our captain would probably be probably Salah, maybe Fernandez vice captain, something like that. Also, the bench boost and the triple captain are not available because you cannot use your wild card or your free hit until the next game week. So yeah, apparently there's 369,000 players. So yeah, Aubameyang could be the captain, but could be quite interesting. I am quite fraudulent, as I'm going to put Salah in on the right hand side here, because and I'm going to put Aubameyang in on the left hand side because I like things to be looking nice. Teemo Werner can play off the left hand side. I think he's quite good there. Trent is on the right. Vinagre does play in off the left, but I think Dallas is maybe better there. And then we'll put Fernandez in there. We'll make Salah the vice captain. We'll make Aubameyang Salah the captain, Aubameyang the vice captain, and we will save the team. So that's kind of what the team looks like there. Would I pick Mount? Probably too expensive, to be honest. Probably just a bit too expensive overall. Okay, now we're going to be looking at making the league. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave my team just up on the screen here. Just going to move this across the other side. Okay. Just going to refresh here. So, okay, I got my same team on the other side here. All right, so let's make the league. Leagues. Create or join new leagues. Create a league. It's going to be classic scoring. The league name is going to be Flames Recruits. Starts in game week 1. Create the league. I'm going to copy this I'm going to copy the code, and I'm going to go on Twitter and post this up in the description. And I'm going to save that. So the league code is over on Twitter. I will probably put it above me as well. Probably like above, maybe move the chat down just a little bit and put it just above the chat. But the league code is for those that want to join right away. That is the league code. Just posted it in the chat for those that want to join right away. Flames Recruits. And yeah. That is the league there. We're currently tied for rank number 1 overall. So, but yeah. I wonder what my Does it show our ID? I'm curious to know what my ID is. Doesn't say. Doesn't say my ID, but I'm probably 360 something thousand, which means I have to remember a longer number. I've seen some people, they try to get their numbers as soon as possible, so they autofill their team, go in, and then off they go. But yeah, what I might do is move the chat down and add that in the overlay. So I'm just gonna make a note of that. So add league code to overlay. So, but yeah, you can go find it over on Twitter now. It's in our description. Like I said, you have to be following us over on Twitter, following us here on Twitch, and if you join the league and you win, you'll get a shout out at the end of the season. And I'll make sure to shout you out as well at the beginning of the season as well. And your name with your Twitter handle will be in the description of every FPL video for that season, and then will be renewed depending on who wins it the following season. If you go back to back, you'll get some, maybe some emojis next to you, or some type of maybe a special all caps or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But we still haven't even started this season, so I plan on trying to win it. Hopefully, you know, you gotta go, or at least place well in my own league. You know, you gotta do good, gotta do quite good. But yeah. So yeah, FPL is back. This is my team up on the screen so far. So we have a double rotating goalkeepers in McCarthy and Ryan. We have Trent Alexander-Arnold, Vinagre, and Dallas as our back three. We have Salah as our captain, Soucek, Fernandez, Aubameyang, and then up front we have Bamford, Antonio, and Teemo Werner, with Cabana, Walker-Peters, and Ferguson on our bench. This is obviously all subject to change. Just a lot of fun looking at player price points and combinations that we could do. It's been a long one. It's been almost 2 hours. I'm going to put this up on YouTube. Probably not tonight. It'll probably be tomorrow because it'll take too long. And yeah, the Liga code will be also in our Twitter links. Not Twitter links, in our YouTube descriptions as well. And for those who enjoyed, yeah, make sure to tune in. We'll be doing, we'll be trying to do the stream basically every week up until the FPL season starts. We'll be doing a deadline stream, 100%, and we'll do a stream on every Friday going forward. So this week next week is the 21st. We'll do a stream then because the fixtures will be out by then. So we'll do a stream looking at that. Then we'll do one on the 28th probably, and then on the 5th, and then depending on or the 4th rather, and then depending on if there's a game on the 11th or the 12th, because I remember last season they had one on the Friday, which was Liverpool playing Norwich, I think it was. We'll have one on the Friday, and then we'll have one on deadline day as well. And that'll typically be how the schedule goes overall. But yeah, we do a bunch of different fun things on here as well. I don't know if you guys have seen, you obviously see there's a green screen behind me, but we can do a bunch of different fun things like this. There we go. And then when we have, we could do different fun things like this, where I could set myself in front of a green screen. Once I have my camera set up, it's going to be over on the other side. I can be able to stand up. I can act as if I'm on the pitch because I can change the sides, different things. And it's going to be quite fun. So yeah, that's a bunch of different things that we can do. It's quite interactive with the green screen. There's a bunch of different fun things that we can do with that. And if United lose, maybe I'll put some sorry music instead of Glory, Glory Man United. If they lose in the first game of the season to Leeds at home or something tragic like that. That would not be great. But yeah. hopefully everyone enjoyed the stream. Let me know if there's anything when I go post it on YouTube, or you know, just send me a message. True LKM, thank you for following as well, much appreciated. And yeah, hopefully we have a good season. We ended up 33k. Hopefully we can get into the top 10k. That is the goal this season. 5 digits and or less than 5 digits and nothing short of it. But yeah, FPL is back. Hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to go check over the videos over on YouTube. We're going to be posting some videos over there as well. Some actual videos where we can have actual data and that sort of stuff. And yeah, should be a lot of fun. So make sure to check that out. Links are also in the description. Also, if you just search Pilot of Flame 226, you'll probably find me on those platforms. And don't forget to join the league as well. You're definitely going to want to win that, because you'll get the shout out and you'll have the recognition as the leader of the Flames recruits. So yeah, it's been Pilot Flame, and until the next one, take care.